I just have to say, from a personal standpoint, this was, I worked at Cabarrus County Television for over 16 years, and these projects, the historical moments, were some of my favorite on a lot of different reasons. And both personally, just working with you guys. Come on, have a seat. You're making me vamp too much.
You're doing a great job, as always.
And but it's, you know, the whole team, you know, because we traveled together. You saw a lot of stuff at Lake Junaluska. Went up there and shot a lot of different things. And when you work with somebody for as long as we've worked together, you know, it becomes a family. As cliche as that sounds, it does, because we all had a passion for it, and you know, and it's always a great thing to share with the community. So, without further ado, as they say, this is, you know, I'm going to just throw this out. It's very free form. So, Judge Horton, why have you devoted your life to preserving the history of Cabarrus County?
Well, I can't see everybody. Is there?
There's people here.
Oh, people here.
And they're making faces at you. No, go ahead.
Thank you very much, David. I'm not sure I've devoted my whole life to just that. It's an important part of it, because I've always been so proud of the good people that Providence set me down among, and have enjoyed so much my life here that I wanted to give back in some way, and that seemed a frankly simple way for me, because I love history, always have, and I've always been so proud of the things that the folks that have gone before us have done, and the heritage they've left us, and the foundation they built for us, that I like to tell the stories of those people and what they've accomplished. And that's basically what I've done. I've enjoyed it because I've been telling stories. And hopefully the idea was they'd be true stories, and there'd be things that people could be proud of and might enjoy looking at occasionally. And so I think that's probably as close as I get to that answer to that, David.
Well, what about, does your love of history extend beyond Cabarrus County? I mean,
well, yes, I read, I guess, the history of everywhere that I can get my hands on, but I don't know that I spend as much time as I have on our history.
Well, Jarrett, being involved in all of this, how's that affected you as far as love of history? Or
well, I'm originally from upstate New York, and I just wish we had something to document what's, you know, the birth of where I grew up. But seeing the history of Cabarrus County unfold through editing and shooting has been pretty cool. It's a rich history with a lot of great things that have happened over the many years, and it's a great place to live now.
Judge Horton, where did the original concept come from? I know you talked about it a little bit at the commissioners' meeting.
Well, you would be very familiar with that, since you and Janet Dearman talked me into this. This was going to be a series of very brief 1, 2 to 5 minute pieces called Historical Moments. And we're going to do that for a few of them and kick the program off. And here we are, still doing it. So David's a mighty good salesman if you're in line, if you're in need of one.
Okay. Yeah, there was, and I'm going to jump on this just a little bit. The first time we met, Janet Dearman, who was the executive director of Historic Cabarrus at the time, and Judge Horton and I, and they had approached me about they wanted to do some DVDs or videos at the time for school system. And I had just come onto Channel 22, to Cabarrus County Television, and I was in need of programming. So when we met, I said, what a great idea this is. And instead of just doing it for the schools now, and on a side note, actually the school system has used a number of these pieces in their classes for local history, which is a real thing we're proud of. But, we talked about it, so let's just do it for television, and we can put it on. And the very first time we went out to shoot, and a lot of times if you've never done television production, you can be a great writer, even a public speaker, but television is a little different animal sometimes. And so, some people are natural and some people aren't. Well, Judge Horton came out there, and the first take was just amazing. I said, well, I've never seen, this guy is like a cross between Walter Cronkite and his credibility and Charles Kuralt with his hometown delivery. I said, we are very, very lucky. And and then, 18 years later, we've got something to show for it. But what makes you the proudest of this? And this is for both of you, as far as the series.
Well, for me, I love to see the evolution of the product, from the very first one being a very humble production to the historical single-screen theaters, one that won a national award against some of the biggest counties in the country. Seeing that evolution from the beginning to, going from moments to more than a moment has been a cool thing to see.
Well, we've had a chance to. I'm generally interested in the early history of the county, the evolution of things, and how we came to do certain things, and how we moved from an agricultural society to a textile society, and now a service-oriented society, and along with tourism and other things. I love watching that develop. I'm mostly concentrated on the early part, so I regret that we haven't. Seemed like there was a lot more time available when we started doing this than there is now, but I had thought to get to some of the more recent evolution of things in the county, and some other person's going to need to do that. We've been trying to recruit people, but nobody else is quite as gullible as I am, and have accepted. But I hope we have a few candidates that are going to be interested in picking that up, particularly since I only get up to about, as in this piece, only about the Civil War or period right immediately after it. This is just was intended to be part one of the Methodist history, and was expected to be at least 2 parts, perhaps 3, considering all the things. If you're Methodist, you know that now we're going through growing pains and dividing up pains, and like any family, and that's basically what the Methodist Church is. Great big family, all connected. Like any family, we have family quarrels sometimes, and have to work those things out, and I hope we're going to get them worked out now. So that story needs to be told, and for another reason. We don't really get into the tremendous traditional black churches that we have connected to the Methodists, the AME Church, the AME Zion Church, and many others. And without doing that, you lose so much of black history and of the connectional spirit there, because from Little Concord comes Livingston College eventually, and Hood Theological Seminary, and all of those things began here in the AME Church, and we miss that. So I like telling, what I really am proudest of about it are the times we were able to finish something, such as the story of textiles. Obviously, you can't get everything in a 1 hour or even 30-minute video, but I think the fellows did a great job of editing that into the space available and telling that story. And that's the secret. It's not what I do at all, and we ought to be here to honor them because they know how to put it together and try to make me look as good as they can, which has been easier on some occasions than on others, I'll tell you. But that's what I'm proudest of.
Are there any particular episodes? I mean, since there's 25 of them, anyone more memorable or you're more proud of than any of the others?
Well, I pretty much liked them all once they were once they were done. But I think some I feel were smoother and probably I did a lot better job in and whatnot. So I can't help but be attracted to them. Some were more relevant to what we were doing. We probably heard from more people on things like the video on the fairs that were held here and have been held here for well over 100 years now, different fairs. I think that was quite popular, and we did that in just a couple weeks by request of some folks who needed the video to use in their program. I thought the Stonewall Jackson Training School, we have an awful lot of interest and inquiries from that, and I think it showed a real development in the history of how we deal with our young people who might find themselves in difficulties with the courts. And having been in the courts, I think me and the other judges who are here would probably agree that we spend an awful lot of time worrying about how we deal with those type cases because your influence as a citizen for the rest of their lives and maybe how they go is going to depend on how you do. That one was one of my favorites, but as far as the photography, I wish we even had room to put in more of the Lake Junaluska photography. The fellows did a wonderful job on that at conveying just how pretty it is. So whether you're a Methodist or not, I think you'll enjoy maybe passing by Lake Junaluska if you're in western North Carolina this fall.
Jarrett, how about you?
I would say the Miss Ruth piece was pretty amazing. I mean, we went border to border on that one, quite literally. We started in Boone, filming at the Cannon's old summer home, and wrapped it up on the coast. We visited a few places along the way, including Tryon Palace, which was a beautiful, it was, I believe, the governor's old mansion with beautiful gardens and just a ton of amazing history. So I'd say that was probably one of the most memorable. A close second, I think, would probably be the theaters. I think it was very visually appealing. It was very relevant to a lot of folks. You heard a lot about that one when it came out. Just people remembering where the theaters used to be and how now, it's a supermarket or a shoe store or something like that. So I'd say those two stick out to me. But again, I've only worked on the last 4. But those two were definitely, to me, the most, that stuck out to me the most.
Well, it's been, all of them have been special. I kind of echo your remarks there, Judge Horton, that I'm very proud of the fact that two of them won best documentaries in the nation on 2 national levels, and it was the Pfeiffer story about the beginning of the North Carolina Art Museum because of that, and also the theaters, and those got highly acclaim, and I don't even know how many state awards we've won with the.
Yeah, we don't count state. I mean,
state was like a ton of them, but it's been great. Why don't we just kind of just to give everybody just a little idea of when we'll just sit around and we would have discussions on different topics and that sort of thing, and we would land on one. And let's just we can take the movie one. We'll use as an example. How did we start? Or Judge Horton, how did you start with your research and all of that? How's the process?
Well, I had the advantage that actually I lived through all of that, so that made it just a little bit easier, and I enjoyed, as a child or kid, the local movies so much, particularly the Gym Theater, which has been around almost my entire life now, and has been a big part of things in Kannapolis. We're very proud of it, and it's amazing how it captures that spirit of the 40s and 50s and 60s, even to this day. I'm not a spokesman for the Gym Theater, but I am a spokesman for saying if you haven't visited it and you're a movie fan, it's certainly a place worth going. So I began with that with I could talk to a number of people who had even better memories of it than I did. The old newspapers, full of advertisements and stories, and it was just a process of putting together the highlights of the development of actually the motion picture and how it affected life in all the United States, because it all started at the beginning of the century and continued on through it. So we were trying to capture how that moved and a little bit of this fact that it was sad that gradually that was phased out and replaced by television and by multiplex theaters and whatnot, and to mention the role of drive-in movies. And so I suppose we started by gathering all the information and then choosing that we thought would best develop the story in general of the movies, and then within that context, the story of the little theaters we'd forgotten about some of here in Cabarrus, both in Concord and Kannapolis, and some drive-in theaters. That was probably, thinking back on those memories, that was probably the most enjoyable one to write for me.
And then after that, we set up a shooting schedule and then picked out the locations, scouted the locations, and then once the shooting was done, then Jarrett did his magic. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so after we get all the footage back to the office, it gets ingested into the computer, and then we kind of go through the script, take out the best takes, although Clarence rarely messes up. And I would like to point out that Clarence, I mean, he would before we got a teleprompter, Clarence would memorize the script and deliver it accurately, which impressed me endlessly. I thought that was, when I first started editing the courthouse piece, I was like, you guys don't have a teleprompter, so how's he doing this? So it wasn't magic or witchcraft. He just memorized the script, which I thought was impressive. And then on this past one, John Von Cannon did a great job editing and putting it all together. He had a very heavy hand in this last one with the edit and the music and everything. He did a great job with. So it's not just me, not at all, not by a long shot. So, but it's a fun piece to work on because it's outside of our ordinary kind of stuff that we do day to day. And we put a lot of work into it. So to see it kind of get through all the process of color treatment, audio balance, B-rolling it, and all that effects and graphics and all that stuff. It's a rewarding experience to see when it's finally completed.
Judge Horton, if I could, if there's one thing that you would want people in Cabarrus County to know about its history and the effect of its history on this region, what would that be?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for the easy question at the end, David. I think it would be, if I had to pick one, and I guess I do, it would be that we've always, as a people, moved on forward. We kept on going, despite the things that were happening, and despite some pretty horrible wars and other experiences and some economic downturns, some problems with our whole society now with all the devised divisions, we still continue to keep on going forward and kind of pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and move right ahead. We persevere. And we always look, I think, with our faces toward the future, rather than so much we're informed by the past. We respect it and we uplift it and we revere it, but we live with our faces toward the future.
That was a great answer. Almost like
you wrote it.
Yeah, like you wrote it or something. Okay. One of the things I'd like to kind of throw into the mix here is that, it's a wonderful gift to be part of capturing, a small part of capturing some of the history of Cabarrus County for future generations. That is something that has motivated all of us, where, it's something that we leave behind. And people are using this in different type of research. There was a person doing research on Stephen Cabarrus from Australia and had Googled it and found us on YouTube, the segment on Stephen Cabarrus. And he said he had more information there than any of the other research that he had done. And I think that, and the other thing that made me very proud was beyond Cabarrus County, because of the visibility of historical moments over these past 18 years at different, conferences and things like that, we'd have discussions about them. Because of the awards, state, local, regional, and national awards, people would look us up and check it out. And what I discovered over the years is that a lot of people with government channels and public, community channels, they would ask about, well, how do you do this? Whoa. And so, we'd tell them. And the thing that was amazing to me is that there were so many of these types of programs started all across the country. So not only is, we have a part in preserving some of Cabarrus County history, we have also impacted and encouraged other people to capture their local histories. And I think for me, that is something that I'm just really, really proud of. And like I said earlier, working with this group of folks has been a highlight in my professional life. And I mean, it's just, it was always fun. We always had a good time. And then the end of the day, I think it was a pretty good product and something to be really proud of.
I've always lived here, except, of course, for a brief time in Chapel Hill and later in Raleigh, but I've never really wanted to go anywhere else. Just maybe it was a lack of ambition. I don't know. I didn't think I could do any better.
So if you believe that history repeats itself, Judge, I might ask you, what do you think maybe you'll be doing it in 25 years. You'll be doing another one of these historic moments in 25 years, looking back at the 2020s. What do you think will be the highlights of the 2020s as you look back here? Will it be Philip Morris turns into Lily? Will it be the success of the school and of the for HBCU school down here? Will it be all the development in downtown Concord? What will be the turning point of Cabarrus County as we make another turn back in the 2020s, way back in the 2020s?
think your question was harder than mine.
I think so. Thank you. I appreciate the thought that I'd be here. I might be doing something somewhere, but it won't be here probably in 25 years. And I'm confident it will be. But I think what my problem is that I'm having a hard time thinking that we're going to be shaped by whether or not we take seriously the fact that things are going to change and the climate thing is not a hoax or a misunderstanding. And it's not just something that's going to go away. The world is changing. We're going to need to take that seriously and deal with it, and I think we will. My best hope is that there will be something to talk about in 25 years and in 50 and 75 years. That it worries me for the children and grandchildren of all of us, all of you folks here. I don't mean that I feel fatalistic or feel we can't do anything. We can do things that are remarkable when we choose to. And I think it's going to depend, my answer would depend on how remarkable do you think we're willing to be the next 25 years. We're going to have to change the way we look at things a little bit, I think. We're going to have to buckle down and get back that spirit of working together, because we can do anything together and always have. But we're going to need to do that as a second thing. And we're going to need to be, well, I don't know how to say it. We're going to need to hope that some folks, some visionaries come along that are willing to tell us the truth about things, harness the unlimited energy of this people, and provide good leadership. Frankly, what I'm trying to say is that I'm weaseling out a little bit. I think there's so many imponderables and so many uncertainties, I'd be purely guessing. My best guess is that we're going to survive and come out of it as better people, but that it's going to be difficult. It's going to be painful. And in the past, we've been through those periods. We're going to go through those periods in my church, in the Methodist Church here, it looks like, from this day on. But we'll survive, and we might come out of it better for the experience of having done it. But I think the economic changes are unlimited. Our future chances are unlimited. Where we're located has been something I've noticed all through all these histories and reading about things. That's made a big difference on what roads were here, what opportunities were here, that the railroad was built through. If you look at most of the things that propelled us forward, they were economic like that, and they were people with a vision, Mr. Cannon, Mr. Odell, Warren Coleman, the people that saw that a new life for the people might be in the mills. Now we've got a chance to do a lot of other wonderful things economically if we do it, and if we make this a place people want to come. I was thrilled to read that my native Kannapolis is one of the 15 cities being considered for moving big businesses here. Well, that's as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned, and that speaks to the character of the people and of the land, and I mean the whole land, not just us. We're just a part of a wonderful county and a wonderful region. That's where our future is going to be in 25 years, if we choose to have the future that we can.
I'd just like to thank Judge Horton for his view of the history of Cabarrus County and what's happened in North Carolina. We're a big military family. I have grandsons in the Marines and Navy, Army, Coast Guard, and Air Force. And so we're spread all across the country. And I worked for IBM for 20 years. I was on an airplane every Sunday night, Monday morning, traveled the country, every city in the United States, but never thought about the history of those places. Lived in great places. Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Chicagoland area, Des Moines, Omaha. But to come here and to hear what you've had to say about Cabarrus County, I am just glad that my children, grandchildren, my 34 grandchildren, have an opportunity. Well, we've got 19 greats, and this is one of our great granddaughters here. So we've got a big family, but just to know about the history. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the service.
Yes. Again, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out on such a beautiful day to stay in and grab some snacks. Check out the galleries downstairs, which are always great. We used to highlight those every time I had a new exhibit, and that is a real pleasure and a gift here for Cabarrus County as our Arts Council as well. And again, thank you to the Arts Council and also Historic Cabarrus. And Ashley, thank you for running the AV and all the stuff you do for Historic Cabarrus. And everybody have a safe trip home, and thank you very much for coming.